How's it going, YouTube? Got FourthStarTCG here, and today got a little bit of a different video for you guys. Today we are going to be discussing something that's very important for a lot of collectors, I would think most collectors, and it is protecting and preserving your cards. So today I'm going to give you a basic introduction into card preservation and protection, tell you about all of the, or most of the available options to you for protecting your cards, and I'm going to discuss which method of protection is best for which class of cards, and when I use each of these different methods of protection. So without any further ado, let's get into it. We'll go all the way from penny sleeves up to things like professional grading in this video. So this will be a fairly comprehensive but basic overview. If you're looking for stuff like fire safes and UV protection and stuff like that, that will either be in a different video or I'll send you off to someone else for that. But without any further ado, let's get into it. So the first method of protecting cards, it's really simple. It's just penny sleeves. Sleeves are one of the best ways that you can protect your cards. Just something like these Ultra Pro, they're called penny sleeves for a reason. You can get about, I think I would buy about 1,000 of these for, 10, 15 bucks or something. They really are penny sleeves. And what they do, I'll open up this package here, if I can. So there we go. So basically it's, I'm sure we all know what sleeves are. They're, if I can just, I'll pull out this this miscut Raichu here, this off-center Raichu, and all you do, you sleeve it up. It's a plastic covering over the card, and the main thing that this protects the card from is things like scratches, especially if it's a hollow card. The sleeve's going to protect it from that. It's going to give you something to sort of hold on to the edges of, to cushion the impact of your hands and anything else on that card. It's just going to provide a little bit of an insulation layer for this card. And for many cards, this is going to be sufficient. The vast majority of the cards that I have are in sleeves. I've got, goodness, I've got these deck boxes right here which hold tons of ungraded cards. As you can see, I'll open it up. It's stuffed to the brim with ungraded cards, and the only protection they have are sleeves, and I have this box to hold them in. This is where I put a lot of my hollows, stuff like Japanese hollows, where it's really just like all I want to make sure is that they are protected from scratches, from basic damage. I'm not really worried if anything were to happen to them. These are just, cards that are maybe worth $1 or $2 at most. So the sleeves and maybe a deck box or something, that's going to be your best protection option for these cards, which really aren't worth a lot of money. You just want them to be protected. You don't really care if, something were to happen to them, but you just want them to be generally insulated against any kind of intentional damage. You don't want them floating around. Now, once you get up into more significant cards, maybe it's an older holographic card, you might want to start looking at some other protection options to really make sure that nothing happens to this card. So for example, or if it's, an important card to you or something like that. So this is, for example, I've got this card in a sleeve and a top loader, just a basic plastic top loader. This is a Latios Holo from EX Delta Species. This card's pretty important to me. This is one of the first cards that I bought when I got back into the Pokemon hobby. So while it's probably only a couple dollar card, it has a sentimental value to me, and I probably wouldn't like it if something happened to it. So I've put it into this top loader here, and this is going to keep this card safe from pretty much anything barring, catastrophic damage like it falling on the floor and me stepping on it or something. This top loader, it provides a basically hard plastic shell around the card. It gives a much better protection against corner and edge damage, as nothing's going to get through. With the sleeve, you can still, you hit your fingernail on it or something, you could damage the card through the sleeve. That's not going to happen with the top loader. Top loaders are sort of the gold standard for card protection. There are some issues with the top loader, being that it's a little difficult to get the cards out. That can lead to issues. The most likely time that you're going to be damaging a card when it's in a top loader is when you're putting it in and taking it out. So with that, there are some other options for protecting cards sort of beyond just sort of the second level beyond a sleeve, and those are these sort of what are called semi-rigid holders like card savers. So this is what PSA recommends that you submit your cards in when you submit them for grading, as they sort of make a really good balance between protecting a card and allowing for ease of insertion and removal. So it's very easy for me to insert this Raichu in here. I can just toss it in there, and there we go. Again, just like the top loader, the edges are protected, the corners are protected, and if I want to take it out, I've got that lip at the top. I can reach in and pull it out fairly easily. So that's why PSA recommends these card savers. They provide, virtually the same protection as a top loader. They are a slightly more flimsy. As you can tell, it's a lot easier for me to bend this card saver as it is than it is for me to bend this top loader. It really doesn't bend that far, if you can see that. So card savers and top loaders, they're pretty interchangeable. And again, I use card savers and top loaders quite a bit. Here's just a small stack of cards from what's going to be a soon-to-be PSA submission, and these are all in card savers, and these are very well protected, and I don't worry at all about damaging them. However, there's some cases when the cards are very valuable, you want more protection, and there are several options beyond top loaders and card savers. One of those is a binder. Binders are sort of in the middle. I wouldn't say that they're better protection than top loaders and card savers, but a well-constructed binder is often going to be better protection than something like a single card saver. So here is pop up. This is my Ultra Pro binder here, and this is what I use to store my complete sets. So here you go. That's a quick shot of what I have for my EX Dragon Frontiers in Japanese, my complete set. As you can see, inside these binder pages, the cards are sleeved. Because of the sort of thickness of the binder, it's really going to provide a very solid defense against any kind of damage. It allows you to transport the cards really safely and securely. The one thing that I would say with binders is that you really want to get something like a Pro binder that does not have 3 rings. So I got a 3-ring binder here that I used to use for cards. It's got these sort of Ultra Pro sleeve pages in it. I only have a couple cards in here. But what you want to avoid is these, because these binder rings can cause damage to the cards. So I don't know if you can see it there, but I just popped a card in there, and you can now see that just the way that this binder is lying, that card has slipped under that binder ring. And very easily, that binder ring can lead to dents on the card. So you want to avoid these 3-ring binders for valuable cards. And I don't keep any valuable cards in my 3-ring binders. So, continuing from binders, and again up from that level of protection, we have things like the one-touch and the screw-down holders. So here is my Collector Charizard, and I keep this in this screw-down holder, and I also keep it in a team bag as well. again, this is kind of an interesting case for me, because normally when I have cards that I value this much sentimentally, I would PSA grade them. However, PSA or most grading companies, they won't grade this card. So I'm sort of left to put it in the highest level of protection that I can. This is going to stand up to virtually any kind of damage beyond something like a fire or a flood. And I even think it would have a good chance in something like a flood just based off of the level of protection. I've got the team bag, the screw down holder, the card sleeved up inside there. So this is really going to give me a solid level of protection. For protection, this is probably on par with graded cards. Again, like the magnetic one-touches and stuff. Those might provide slightly less protection in terms of fire and flood and that kind of stuff. I think all of these would sort of kick the bucket in a fire. But, you know, this is sort of on par with graded cards, and it is definitely a leg up from binders, top loaders, and card savers. All right, so the last option we have for card protection is professional grading. Now, professional grading, usually people view it as a way to increase the value of your cards. You know, you think your card's in mint condition, you think it's going to score that high grade, you want to get it graded. But something that people overlook is the ability for professional grading to do things like increasing the eye appeal of your cards and protecting them. So options for professional grading, your main ones with Pokemon are going to be PSA and BGS. So I got a couple cards here. Here is the PSA graded card that I have, or the BGS graded card that I have in my collection. I only got one. It's this Beckett 9.5 Regirock EX. So this is what Beckett's going to do for you. Their case is a little bit thicker. And, you know, I don't think there's any kind of protection difference between BGS and PSA. I've heard of the Beckett cases chipping a lot easier. But yeah, so Beckett's going to do that. This is an example of a card that I graded for protection purposes. As you can see, this very good 3, first edition Rayquaza Gold Star in Japanese. We'll show the back here. This is not the greatest condition card, and me grading it probably didn't increase its value at all. But I was getting a little concerned with a card like this just hanging around in a top loader, and I wanted to send it off to PSA for that protection. Additionally, here's another card. This Empoleon Level X. I actually pulled this myself on the channel many years ago. And I sent it off to be graded. I was sure it would not grade a 10 just because of some issues with it, some corner dings and such like that, a little bit off center. But I wanted to grade it just for the protection, as again, I didn't really want a card that I, you know, had this much sentimental value and sentimental attachment to be sitting around in a binder or in a top loader. So that's going to do it. These protection options, they're really up to you in terms of value, sentimental attachment. What you choose as a protection option is going to vary, you know, based on that value, based on that sentimental attachment that you have to a card. Obviously, the higher the value is, the higher the protection option you're likely going to want to employ. But again, all of these protection options can be used for various cards. Again, the highest risk option, probably something like this sleeve, really doesn't do much for your card, but for many cards is a perfectly reliable protection option. And the most significant protection options, you're going to be looking at the full screw down or one-touch plastic holders and professional grading. So thank you guys very much. Hope you guys enjoyed that video. Be sure to like and subscribe and stick around for more videos.